everyone will be aware that we're at that crucial mid-period in the 4-year World Cup cycle. 2 years in and 2 years to go. So I'm sure unsurprisingly for everyone, the New Zealand Rugby Board and management, high performance team have taken a very comprehensive review of the All Blacks' progress at this point in the cycle, and in particular the 2025 year and where the team had got to by the end of 2025. That review was undertaken in the last couple of weeks of this year and the first couple of weeks of the new year, and all of that material was gathered together and worked through by the high performance team and then presented to the board, and discussions have followed. The view of the high performance team and of us generally was that the All Blacks are not on track in the way that we need them to be on track for the 2027 World Cup, and indeed for what will be a very demanding year in 2026 with the 4 matches against South Africa in rugby's greatest rivalry. So having reached that conclusion, we entered into discussions with the head coach of the All Blacks, and following those discussions we weren't convinced that the team was going to be back on track without changes, and we had further discussions with the head coach, and we've mutually agreed that he would step down from his post. And I really have a great deal of respect for Scott Robertson. He has stepped down on the basis of what he believes and we believe is in the best interests of New Zealand rugby and of the team. And that's very typical of Scott, that he would do what he thought was right and best for the team. So we thank him very much for that, and we also pay tribute to the broader contribution he's made to New Zealand rugby over an extended period of time. He's an All Black, he's played for the All Blacks and obviously contributed a tremendous amount through his coaching success, particularly at the Crusaders, but with New Zealand under-20s as well, and a range of other ways contributed to New Zealand rugby. So I want to thank him publicly for that and wish him all the best. So those are my opening remarks.
David, this is a major decision by the NZR, but how inevitable was it given the findings of the review?
Nothing's ever inevitable, I don't think. You go into every stage of a discussion in these types of reviews with an open mind, looking for more information to help you make the right decision, and you engage more people that can provide you with information that you think is important. I think there's always a momentum in these things. They start to build a momentum, and you start to be moving in towards one direction, but it's important to stay open-minded and
there was a clear picture of things not going well.
Yeah, certainly when the board had analysed the material and the management, the high performance team here had analysed the material, there was a clear initial hypothesis that things were not on track, and obviously we needed to talk to the coach and head coach in particular and others about that, but before we jump to a final conclusion. But yes, the review did give us a clear direction.
Can you elaborate on the review findings?
It's not really appropriate to talk in detail about any review findings. There are a lot of things covered in the review and a lot of opinions and approaches taken, but the direction was clear and they certainly had an influence on the outcome.
Were all the players canvassed, or a general number of players, including the senior leadership group of players? Were they all canvassed, and were you getting the same message?
Not every player was canvassed, but a large number of players were canvassed. Close to 20 players were canvassed, a little under, and the management, the most senior management, and all of the coaches, including of course the head coach. And yes, there was a consistent theme, there was a consistent direction delivered to us, which was what we then followed up on and investigated further.
There were ructions in 2024 and they've obviously grown in 25. How much have the last couple of years set back All Black rugby?
I think Scott's done some very good things in his tenure, and as he has said a number of times, I'm happy to absolutely agree with. He's introduced a number of young players to what it means to be in the All Blacks environment, what it means to play with the intensity and accuracy required at international rugby. So he's done a lot of good things. So I think there's a lot of strands, there's a lot of elements to the development of a team, and there's a lot of, it's a very challenging environment in All Blacks high performance environment. So I think,
Clearly you weren't seeing enough improvement or going to see enough.
I think trajectory is a good word to apply. We weren't seeing the trajectory that we wanted, and I think fans will probably share that view, that there were things that we were ways that we were playing and ways we were feeling a bit short, falling short, I say, of the excellence that we're looking for, that never really got addressed over the year. So I think that was certainly a theme.
Is it just Scott Robertson? Is it just Scott Robertson department?
Yes, that's the only role that's changing.
So the new coach will come in and obviously want his own assistant coaches.
That's highly likely. Yeah, and a new coach, a new head coach will be able to appoint their own staff.
Be able to appoint their own assistant coaches.
Yes.
David, what things does the new coach need to do better?
So what?
What things does the new coach need to do better?
I don't want to be specific because that puts a cross on the forehead of the new coach, and says the chairman said you have to do this. The new coach may have different and better ways of thinking about how to do things. So I don't want to be specific about what a new coach ought to be or ought not to be doing. I mean, when we go through the process of appointing a new coach, those new coaches will clearly present their plans and the way in which they go about coaching, and that will, we'll either agree with that or we won't.
Do you have someone in mind who you want to be the new head coach?
No one in mind, completely open. We're going to cast the net wide. We're going to give as many people as we can. We think that coaching the All Blacks is what is the greatest rugby coaching role in the world, and we're very hopeful we'll see plenty of highly qualified candidates.
David, did the feedback come around culture or game plan? Was there a specific area where the team wasn't on track?
I think, high performance environments like the All Blacks are you can't disaggregate them and say, oh, this was right and that was wrong. The environment is either working or it isn't, and there's a whole range of different components to that. But it's much more sensible to think about the environment delivering performance, which is delivering trajectory for where we need to go. Improvements, learning, adaptability, all those sorts of things that we need to be doing, and then the environment needs to be set up to deliver. And so I think it's better to consider it in a broader trajectory sense than it is to try and disaggregate the environment.
Was this ultimately a captain's call that you'd made?
No, not at all. This is the board call. All the material that was presented, that was collected, was presented to the board and discussed in detail at a board meeting that lasted 2 or 3 hours. So the board was across all the material, and all the board directors had lots of questions and lots of discussion. Obviously, management, high performance management, and Steve Lancaster, the acting CEO, was at the board meeting, and following all of that discussion, the board was unanimous in the directions it gave with regard to the conversations with the head coach.
When you started, you mentioned this being the midpoint of the Rugby World Cup cycle. Was it a mistake not to contract Scott for just 2 years?
That's a very interesting question, and I think you can make the case either way. You can say you manage risk by only contracting someone for 2 years, and then if it's not working out, then it's easier to just not renew the contract. But on the other hand, sometimes you can miss out on a renewal that you want to make, and locking in a coach that feels they can then plan for 4 years more effectively and deliver. So it really is just a judgment call, and I think there are pros and cons for both. There are always even if someone's term ends prior to the end of their contract, there are ways in which the contracts can be ended early. So you're not locked in in any way.
Have you spoken to the current All Blacks players about this move? Have you addressed them?
Yes, we've spoken to the leadership group before the announcement, and
what was their reaction?
their reaction was they just absorbed it. They weren't there they didn't ask many questions, and they didn't have any real strong response.
David, when did you actually tell the group that Scott Robertson had been sit down?
They're the playing group. They found out about an hour and a half ago, something like that, before we put the press release out.
David, I know you weren't involved 2 years ago when Scott was appointed, but has the union learnt, or did the union make a mistake in appointing a coach before that World Cup cycle?
Yeah, I actually don't want to go back there. I've given an opinion on that before, and I've said that I think it would be good if that was avoided in the future. But I think it's better that we look forward now.
David, are you concerned that this is going to split the player group over this? That some would have been pro Scott Robertson, some would have been anti Scott Robertson. How are you going to deal with that?
I'm not concerned at all. I think all of the group had respect and like Scott in many ways. Obviously, there's some people know him better than others do, but all players respect their coaches and want to play for them and work with them. So I think that's the first point to make. And the second point is, and I know this from personal experience, players are players. You get on with it. I mean, you want to impress the coach. You want to be seen to be someone who's contributing, who's playing the best, who's training the best, who's playing the best, and you want to be selected. So I think all players, just get on in whatever environment that they're in.
How did you weigh up the players, what you were hearing from the players to what you were hearing from the coaches? Like, is this player power coming to a fold once again?
No, it's not player power. It's the mature and appropriate listening to players. Players in the end are the people who have to deliver on the field for us. So they need to be in an environment, and they need to have coaching and the way in which the environment is managed and set up in a way which helps them perform on the field. And I was actually really impressed with the players in the interview, and I stress we didn't just interview players, we interviewed management and coaches as well. But I was really impressed with the players. The players were very thoughtful in the feedback that they gave us, and there was absolutely no preconceptions about, I've made up my mind, I don't like this or I don't like that. Every question they listened to, and every player thought carefully about it, and sometimes they answered yes, I'm not satisfied with that, and in other cases they answered they were very satisfied, and they thought the coaches were doing very well for them in certain areas. So there was no bitterness, they just tried to truthfully and honestly tell us how they were feeling and what they thought was in the best interest of the team.
Looking at results last season, 3 losses, does that set a precedent in any way in the future that if you lose 3 times as All Blacks coach, that's your job gone?
No, I just come back to the word I've used a number of times, trajectory. It's not about point results at a particular point in time. It's about, is the team building, is the team setting itself up for future success? And can we see that, and can the players feel that, and do the players understand the journey that they're on, and are they happy with that journey?
David, this is now another coach leaving midway through a cycle. Financially, how much does this hurt the game in this country?
I can't do the maths off the top of my head, so I can't answer that question.
But David, will you need to pay Scott Robertson out for 2 years?
No, we will not need to pay him out for 2 years. I can't really talk about people's employment contracts. That's obviously private information, but I can say we don't have to pay him out for 2 years.
Did any of the players say he must stay?
But players don't do that. It's not their job to tell people who are asking them. They can certainly express a preference of what they think would be the best for them and for the team, and they all did express preferences.
Did any of them express preference for him to stay?
I'm not going to go into individual details of
Any them
individual
give
players.
a me or Scott Robertson
No,
statement?
absolutely not.
No one pointed a gun at you and said it has to be him or me?
No.
Will the new coach get to review the captaincy?
Sorry?
Will the new coach get to
I have no idea. It'll be the new coach's job to work with the captain and the playing group, but not. I can't answer for him.
Sorry, Artie unfortunately seems to have been pinned up as the leader, if you like, of a apparent revolt or what have you. but can you just clarify that?
Definitely no revolt. I can be absolutely definitive. There is no revolt by the players at all. The players are very measured and very thoughtful in their responses. And there was two sides. There was always pros and there was always cons. And they presented a balanced picture of everything that was going on. And I also think it's very unfair to say that Ardie somehow led something. Not at all. He expressed public opinions, but some of those opinions were not agreed to by other players. Some of them would have been somewhat aligned with them, but all of the players are individuals, and they make their own decisions, and they analyse things in ways that they think are appropriate for them and for the team. So I think it's a real red herring to think of Ardie as somehow having been influential in this decision. He absolutely was not.
David, did you address the remaining All Blacks coaches and management as part of the address to the All Blacks players?
Yes, no, well, we talked to it was separate. We talked to the players, and then we talked to the whole management group, which is quite large, as you would know, and took them through the process and where we'd arrived at, and the mutual agreement with Scott that he would step down.
Do you expect them all to stay?
Beg your pardon?
Do you expect the management and coaches to stay?
I don't know. I have no view, but I see no reason why not. They're committed and doing and most of them doing a great job.
How much of this was a desire to be decisive after what had happened in the last coaching regime and the back and forth over Ian Foster's?
No connection whatsoever to anything that happened in previous regimes or previous methodologies of appointing coaches. This is entirely looking at the situation we have today and the team development over 2 years, 24 and 25, and the fact we are now really at the last point. You can make a decision to make any major changes in the team. The team has to be developing momentum and trajectory and be on the way, firstly to doing well in 26 and then into that 27 World Cup year.
Can you talk about trajectory though? We're heading into an All Black tour to South Africa and full strength French and full strength Irish teams. This move coming in is really coming in deep in the road.
Yeah.
And you expect them to be able to perform from right from the start all the way through? There's going to be no leeway?
I pretty much do, and again, this credit is absolutely due to Scott Robertson. He has put together a group of high quality players and introduced a number of younger players to Test match rugby, and given them plenty of game time, and so there is a group of players. I don't doubt that we've got the players to beat South Africa in South Africa and to beat and to win the World Cup in 2027.
You're saying a lot of good things about Scott Robertson. Can you explain though where he and the All Blacks were falling short in terms of not being on that trajectory?
Well, I don't want to go into details because again, that comes back to private and sensitive discussions with an individual about where the team is at, and what specific areas of shortfall, and I don't think it's appropriate to do that.
But you watch the All Blacks. Where do you think? We all have.
Well, I mean, we all have views, and we all were frustrated by the inconsistency during the year. Play well for some periods, and then don't play well for periods. We had a sort of fell into a dark hole in the third quarter at times. We gave away a lot of penalties at times, and I know the coaching group was as frustrated as anyone with that. But I just give you some examples off the top of my head. And those are not the definitive reasons why of anything. It's as I say, a stronger trajectory about where we need to be.
David, you've spoken about casting the net for the next coach. Would the organisation be open to a foreigner coaching New Zealand?
We haven't had that discussion at the board yet, so it's not appropriate for me to preempt that.
David, is Scott Robertson free now to pursue a career overseas, or is there a stand-down period?
No, he has some some constraints on who he can work for and when. That lasts for a period.
Who can't he work?
There's a number of other international countries.
Top tier?
Mostly the top tier ones, yeah. Top
At
tier
the
ones.
end of this year? Or?
About that, yeah, about a year.
David, who conducted the player interviews?
Kevin Mialamu and myself.
What's the time frame for a coach appointment? Because obviously when the decision was made to appoint Scott ahead of the World Cup, there's a talk about not disrupting Super Rugby. There's potential applicants in Super Rugby which starts in a month. What's the time frame for sort of arriving at a new head coach?
Well, we'll be measured and make sure we do the job well. and so that will take some time, but as soon as possible, subject to being measured and doing the job well.
David, in terms of, I guess, business decisions you've had to make over the course of your career, where does this one stand?
Well, the people decisions are always the hardest because you're really definitively affecting other people's lives, and it's very difficult. It's very challenging, but it's also very important for me, but not for others as well, and the whole board of New Zealand Rugby, that we put specific individual concerns aside and think about the All Blacks and think about the need for the All Blacks to continue to win, and for us to ensure that they have the best environment and the best likelihood of winning. So it's very tough in circumstances when you're dealing with individual people.
Does this feel risky?
No, it's always, for me, I always, in situations like this, it's much riskier not to change.
You mentioned a board meeting where you went over the next items of the review. When was that board meeting?
I'm going to say it was, what are we now? About a week ago.
There was a specific report, I think, that Arnie Savia raised issues with you on the India tour last year. Can you comment on whether that took place?
The specific what, sorry? That
Arnie Savia raised concerns with you personally?
No, I've discussed, I had meetings, not meetings, just conversations with players, just sat down in public and had a cup of coffee or tea with players on the Northern Tour. I was there for the first two matches, the Ireland match and the Scottish match, and had plenty of opportunity to talk to players. Mostly they were, I can definitively say they were not complaining about things in those, they were talking about their future and the things that they wanted to do. And Artie, as has been widely broadcast, has had a very heavy load. He's played a lot of rugby in the last period, so certainly that came up as him feeling tired.
Will we see Artie in a black jersey this year? Will he be back in Super Rugby?
Well, he's contracted to us until the end of 2027, and I would definitely expect him to see him in a black jersey.
Normally we see a high performance lead staging a review. Was that the case with this review, or was it just yourself and Kevin?
It was just Kevin and ourselves. Don Tricker assisted us because we did, there's been, obviously New Zealand Rugby's high performance unit had performed all the reviews over the year. Because we're at such a crucial part of the cycle, we decided it was a good idea to get some independent review, some people who are independent into the review, and that was Don Tricker, who's got a deep understanding of New Zealand rugby and has worked with New Zealand rugby for a long period of time. And also we thought it was, and maybe it's an innovation that may or may not stay, but for this one in particular, it would be valuable to have two people who understood the All Black environment very clearly. And Kevin,
The players were more comfortable talking to yourself and Kevin?
I can't really compare it to, because I haven't been in the interviews when the high performance team had, but I know they were very comfortable talking to us, and I give a lot of credit to Kevin for that. He was great at helping players just understand that they could be as open as they needed to be and just talk about their aspirations and what they thought was going well and wasn't going well, and we had great conversations with the players.
Were you
Guys, just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap, please.
Were you surprised by anything you heard in those player interviews?
No, but if anything, I was surprised by the thoughtfulness and sounds rude to say the intelligence of the players, but just the thoughtfulness and the way in which they cared about the team and the success of the team, and as ever with All Blacks, how conscious they were of the legacy and their need to carry on that legacy and to be part of a winning All Black team and to be a memorable All Black and to play in memorable All Black teams. And they were very thoughtful and very measured in what they said about other people and what they said about tactics and the game plan and everything. They had thought it through.
How's the CEO search going?
CEO search is continuing, and I'm confident we will find the right person.
Alex,
You've had
last
a
question,
busy-
Alex.
You had a busy start to your tenure.
Alex?
David.
I have had a busy start to my tenure.
Alex, the question was, that conversation with Scott when you decided to part ways. Can you take us as much as you can behind that door?
Not really, no. I just don't think that's the type of thing.
Emotional?
It's always emotional to talk about these sorts of things. So, yes, I think is the right answer there, but I'm not going to go into any further detail.
Cool. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.